Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to talk to you about the right way to sit when playing your musical instrument. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. As you can see, I'm a violinist, professional, and I am also the creator of the Art of Freedom for Musicians and the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe on Facebook. I'm also a certified Alexander Technique teacher. So I'm going to be talking about sitting with your musical instrument, but it's not just for violinists, okay? Just because I'm a violinist doesn't mean that this video isn't going to be really helpful for you if you're a pianist, clarinetist, flute player, singer, whatever your musical instrument is. If you ever sit down while you make music, this video is going to be helpful for you. Again, before I dive into the topic, I want to remind you that I do have that Facebook group that is my free group that I invite you to join. It's the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe. If you're not a member yet, we talk about all kinds of things related to enjoying your life as a musician, whether you're a professional or an amateur, or it doesn't matter at all what your skill level is. But we talk about taking care of the body, taking care of our mental outlook, our mindset for success. We look at practice techniques, anything related to being a musician and playing pain-free, stress-free, and with more fun. That's what my group is about. So I invite you to join us. Okay, what's the right way to sit playing your instrument? That is the topic of today's video. Now, right off the bat, I want to burst your bubble because there isn't a right way to sit. What do I mean by that? First of all, what is a right way? Let's define that. Now, what there is a way to sit with your instrument that is going to be life-enhancing and is going to help you enjoy sitting there, enjoy playing your music making in a healthy way. To me, that's all it means, the right way. And it's also a way that is going to help you play your instrument with the most ease and the most creativity. You want to be able to sit in a way that is not going to interfere with your thinking and your creativity and your quickness in response time to whatever's happening musically around you. For instance, if you're playing in an orchestra, you want to be able to sit and arrange your body in a way that is conducive to quick thinking and creative, inspired music making, right? So to me, that's what right sitting means. Now, most people would think of a right way to sit as having the body aligned, sitting with so-called good posture, sitting in a way that is helping you be alert and attentive. All those things are, they can be good, but really there is also no such thing as perfect posture or a right way to sit at the piano or a right way to play the violin. Of course, there are ways that are not helpful, like you wouldn't want to sit like this. That's not going to be helpful, right? But here's the thing. The body, mind, self is one thing. What hurts the body is going to hurt the mind. And if you're thinking in a way that is not emotionally healthy, that's not good for the body. You can't separate your thinking from the body. You can't separate your emotions from the body or your mind. Okay, so you are a unity. You've got to start there. You're not just an assembly of bones and muscles. Let's put it that way. So when you think about how to sit and you think about posture, most people tend to think of that as the physical body, but I'm saying you can't separate the physical body from how you're thinking and how you're feeling. I mean, all I have to do is show you this. Okay, if you just look at my body, it's full of tension. Do you think I'm very happy when I'm playing like that? No. And what if I just bring up my fiddle like this and I look something like that? Now that looks much more calm and more at ease, and you might think, I'm a little more happy inside myself and more centered, more peaceful, probably more open as a person. To me, that's what I want. When I sit with my instrument, I want to get out of the way of my natural design. Let's talk about that for a moment too. But before I do that, I want to just say hello to people coming on. I see Angel is there. And by the way, if you're watching the replay, thank you. And please just say hello whenever you watch this. And if you've got any questions about anything specific or anything, just put it in the comments. And you can also private message me if you want to keep it private. So you can always reach me. I'm very reachable. Okay, so the right way, back to this, the right way, the right way to sit. There is no right way, but we do have a natural design. I firmly believe that we are designed, the human body, mind, self is designed to sit in a way that is open, free, flexible, not pulled up and not collapsed down, but there's a happy, open medium where you're upright, but you're not stuck up. You're upright, but you can have a sense of being calm, but not collapsing, right? This is stressful to collapse. And it's also stressful to pull yourself up. So since I am a violinist, I want to show you common ways to sit that are not helpful. And then I'll talk more about what we can do about that to sit in a more helpful way, okay? So I set myself up here so that you can see me a little bit from the side, all right? So if I'm sitting here like this, maybe I'll turn this down just a tiny little bit here. So if I'm sitting here at the side, now the way I learned, as I think I was 7 or 8 when I started playing in the youth orchestra in my town, my hometown of Pittsburgh. I was really young and my feet didn't reach the floor yet. So the first thing I learned is about ergonomics. You've got to set yourself up for success ergonomically the best way you possibly can. And that's not Alexander technique. That's nothing esoteric. It's just ergonomics. If your feet don't reach the floor, if you're short, if you're 7 years old, put your feet on something so your legs are being supported. So when I was little, people, my parents or teachers or I don't remember who, put my violin case under my feet. So I actually would have my legs supported when I was a kid so they weren't dangling. Because if your legs are dangling and you're not reaching the floor, you're going to be much more prone to pulling yourself up and holding yourself up rather than letting your legs and feet support you, okay? Now, there are a lot of different arrangements that are possible for your feet, but the most important thing is that you're aware of your feet. Most people are oblivious to what their feet are doing unless they're pianists or organists or carillon player. You probably don't pay that much attention to where your feet are, or maybe you're a guitarist and you have, or I don't know. There are instruments where you pay more attention to your feet, but violinists, violists, flute players, singers, maybe less singers because they're more aware of their bodies to begin with. But you've got to at least know where your feet are and then experiment to find out what arrangement of your feet, what the different arrangements do to the rest of your body. So you'll probably find that crossing your legs or sitting with high heels on, or having your feet just splayed any old place is probably not going to be as supportive for your whole body as if you just sit with your legs falling, with your hips free, with your feet flat on the ground. So experiment with that though, okay? There is no right way, and there are ways to sit in different postures with your feet. They can be crossed beneath you or in front of you, but you have to know how to do that without stiffening and tightening up. That's where Alexander technique skills can be absolutely invaluable to help you become aware of those possibilities and how to sit in different ways with ease. Okay, so ergonomics also means having the right sized chair, right? If you have that luxury. If you're in an orchestra, you probably don't have that luxury of bringing your own chair, although a lot of cellists do that. It's terrible to have a chair that slopes backwards, that kind of throws you back, and then you have to do something to push yourself forward, and that throws off everything. So I highly recommend that you find a chair that is totally flat or slopes down towards the front. If you can't have that, then they do sell wedges that you can sit on. There's a place I just found out about, sitonthewedge.com. I guess I'm making a commercial now. But I just played in a group recently, and one of my colleagues had one of these little sit on the wedge things that it was like a little beanbag that wasn't even that heavy, and she can travel with it easily. If you have any kind of back pain, I highly recommend you look into that. So these suggestions are pure ergonomics, and then setting yourself up at an appropriate distance to the stand so that you don't have to push forward to squint. You want to have glasses that are appropriate for the distance between you and the music. Those types of considerations help prepare your environment for ease of sitting. But here's the thing. You can have a perfect environment and still be sitting with horrendous posture, horrendous use of your mind, body, self, and you can be hurting yourself. So that's where the very specific skills of the Alexander technique can be so helpful to start, first of all, knowing how you're thinking, observing yourself, just even becoming aware of what you're actually doing. Most people are on autopilot most of the time, and they don't even know what they're doing. So you want to get an inventory, like take an inventory and figure out, what am I actually doing with myself? What are my habits? Start there, okay? And then I'm going to show you, just as a violinist, here is, I started to talk about me in an orchestra when I was a kid. I was a good student and I wanted to pay attention. So what did I do? I made it look like I was paying attention, and I actually was paying attention. But you had to look like you're paying attention, and good student too. So that meant doing something like this. All right, so actually, I've unlearned that habit enough that you probably couldn't see it. But here's what I would do. Okay, do you see how stiff my back is when I do that? When I raise my violin and I do this, I'm really, really stiffening. I'm pulling muscles in my whole back, and I'm pulling my head back and down so my neck gets tight. And besides that, I'm scrunching with my shoulder, and I was like, I'm paying attention. I love this. And I would get really into it, but I did it with so much tension. And that got in the way, of course, of my best playing, which I didn't find out until decades later when I took Alexander technique lessons because I had neck pain, and finally discovered I was approaching my music making with so much tension that I had been oblivious to throughout my whole life. Now, I was a very successful violinist as a kid and as a teenager. I won international competitions and I performed with international symphonies. So I was very successful, and I was lucky I wasn't in pain, but I would have been down the road. And I ended up actually with neck pain that was not directly related to my violin playing, but it was related. Okay, so that's why I took Alexander lessons, which helped me get out of the neck pain very quickly. The doctor and chiropractor, all that stuff didn't work at all for me, but Alexander technique worked so fast. And all of me felt so great that I kept taking lessons, and I did a 3-year certification program to become a certified Alexander technique teacher. And I've been doing it now for more than a decade because I love this work and sharing it with others. So this is one typical thing that musicians do. And it's not just violinists, I'm just demonstrating. But if you're a pianist, if you're a flutist, if you're a guitarist, you probably have seen people who do this kind of thing. And it's always associated with some sort of a mindset or emotion. Of course, everybody has their own flavor. And I just demonstrated mine. Like, I'm a good student and I play really well and I'm really excited, right? And that made me really tight. So let me show you the opposite of that. Again, these are what you want to not do. This is not a good way to sit, but you kind of have to learn the better way to sit by seeing what doesn't work, okay? By contrast. So here's another way. that people often play their instruments. Something like this. You ever seen anybody play like that? You see this all the time, okay? And did you sense a mood that went along with this? Right? What do you think my mood might have been? I'd love to hear from anybody. What are you seeing if I play like this? Now, if I were a pianist, of course, I could sit at the piano and do this, right? That would be the first version, right? I'm sitting playing like this. Or maybe I play like this, right? That would be the second version, okay? Or maybe I play like this, okay? So those are the two extremes. You can be either pulled up or you can be scrunched down. And both of those put a tremendous pressure on your whole system. They affect your mood. They affect the amount of oxygen you get in your brain, which affects how you think. It affects all of the systems of your body. It affects your creativity. It affects your responsiveness, your reaction time. Basically, you're interfering with the natural design of your whole organism. And you're blocking the best music making, and you're preventing the best music making that's possible for you. So you don't want to go in those directions. But most people don't even know how to stop doing those things. I'm going to take a little moment before I talk about the how to stop and look at the comments first. I see some comments coming in here, so I'm going to pull up closer and read what's here. Angel has written, oh, there's a lot here. Great. Angel says if you play pedal harp, where you use your feet, I use my feet and knees. That's right. Yes, I use my feet and knees to help balance my liver heart. So yes, that's another example of an instrument where you need to be more conscious of your feet as you're playing. But even harpists and pianists and organists and people who use their feet may not be aware of the degree of tension that's involved in how you're using your feet. So yeah, thanks for reminding me about harpists, Angel. And then Nina says, lately I've been very aware of my feet on the floor, but the chairs all seem too low. Right. So my knees are too high and it feels like my bow is going to bump into them. Yeah, that's challenging for a violinist or violist. You have to know where is the bow supposed to go? And especially with women, we have been taught explicitly or implicitly to keep the legs together. And so that in itself presents a challenge, because if you keep your legs together and you don't know, it's like, where are you going to put the bow? That means you're going to have to twist your torso. And that's a terrible way to play. What you want is something that is centered, that is balanced as much as possible, that doesn't put a terrible twist into your body. Violinists and violists, we end up with a lot of pain that's unnecessary simply from twisting the body in the way that we shouldn't have to twist it, and by holding it there for hours and hours and hours on end. So finding a way that is centered and free as much as possible. And by free, I mean available for any movement in any direction at any time. That's a way to define freedom of movement, where you're ready for anything. Then that's a really healthy way to be. And it allows you to move and express yourself freely, but without all the tension that comes from twistedness. And so women, men, whoever you are, it's natural for the legs to fall in a place that's actually about hip width apart or more. So spreading the legs, I mean, it's just the way the body was made. If you look at early photographs of women, they had long skirts and dresses, so they could have their knees wide apart and it was no big deal. But now, with mini skirts, it's not so comfortable. So we've learned over time, partly because of style, to put those knees together and keep them together, and that is not healthy. So thankfully, women now are allowed to wear pants, and that does make things a lot easier. But it's something to keep in mind, because many women, even with pants, they've just learned to keep those legs together. So I'm not saying you should spread your legs apart, but pay attention to how that holding the legs together is impacting the rest of your body. Even your breathing is impacted when you're squeezing your thighs together. So not a good idea for your music making. Nina also says, I didn't finish reading the quote, sorry. Nina also says, sitting on the edge seems so far to work best. Yes, but still not great. Eager to hear where you're going with this. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, because with the chairs that are not ideal, and most of them do slope back, you need to have those. There are two bones in your butt. It's your pelvic bones that are actually rather close together, like this. If you put your hands under your butt, you can sit on them. You can feel two bony protuberances. Those are the bottoms of your pelvic bones. We call them the sits bones. And that's actually where the weight falls through. And so you want to have the bottom of your sit bones as far forward to the edge of the chair, so that, like Angel says later, your knees should be a little bit lower than your hips. I agree with you, Angel. Although it is possible to sit with any arrangement and still be easy, but it's just more ergonomically accessible if you have your knees a little lower to begin with. So either at the very front edge of your chair, or with your butt, your sacrum, the bottom of your butt is like pushed as far back as possible so that you can actually use the back support. Now if I had done that when I was a kid, I would have been called on that, because usually people who are using the backrest when they play look like they're not really into it, or they're not really paying attention. And so that's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's true, but people can be using the backrest in a way that makes them actually collapse. And there's a certain attitude that goes with that can actually look laid back in a way that's almost like not really doing your part, or it's maybe a little lazy or detached from what's going on. So it's very interesting to see the emotions and the mood that are evoked from how you're sitting. But it is absolutely possible, especially with conscious, constructive awareness and use of your mind-body self that you learn with Alexander technique. You can learn to be in any posture. You can be back in your chair and be really into what you're doing, and yet with ease in your body. And you get the support of the backrest in the way that helps you go up instead of collapsing. That's not something people can usually do right away. They don't understand this. That's why you need to learn how to do all these things from an Alexander teacher. Okay, let me move on and see what else people are saying. Yes, Angel, I love what you said about the knees being lower than the hips. And finding glasses that are appropriate. Nina, yes, it makes a world of difference. Do not play reading music if you don't have the right glasses for it, because what happens is if you start squinting, you're going to stick your head forward, and when you mess up that head-neck relationship and you tighten here, it literally compromises everything that you're doing. Everything suffers when this part of you is tight, and if you aren't seeing well and you're straining somehow, I guarantee you're putting too much tension into the neck area, and that is going to impact your sound. It's going to impact how you move. It's going to get in the way of your best and most fluent technique. And again, you're not going to get the oxygen you need, and you're not going to be as creative and think as well. So make sure, the use of the eyes is so intimately connected to how you use your whole body. You've got to have the right glasses for the task. So make sure they're glasses for that distance between you and the music. It's very, very important. Same with being at the computer, like have computer glasses. By the way, as an aside, the bifocal, trifocals, no, it's better to have multiple glasses, because otherwise you have a very small place to look out of, and people start doing this and tightening their necks to just be able to see out of different parts of the glasses. So that's kind of a no-no, even though it's a little more convenient. It's not so good for you as a whole. a lot more, I think there are a lot more comments here. Before I read those, I want to go back to what I was saying a moment ago, is how to stop doing the pulling up or the collapsing down, right? Easier said than done, but it does help to remember that your body is not designed to be stiffening up, and it's not designed to be collapsing and pulling down. So what I like to suggest to my students, especially when they're first starting to work with me, is that they kind of pantomime how they play their instruments and look in the mirror, or do it if you have help from somebody, to just put yourself into your regular playing position and then remove the instrument and see if you look like a normal person. If you don't, and there's a lot of tension here, you can realize that you're doing something wrong with how you're holding your instrument, and therefore with how you're sitting. You do not want to look like this. Okay, so I want to just be my normal, happy, open, flexible self, and I just happen to have an instrument over here, and I need to learn how to not interfere with the rest of me when I play my instrument. That is possible. It's learnable. I can do it, and I can teach you how to do it. So if you have that friend helping you out, just be your normal self. Have your friend stick the instrument in there, take it out, see if you still look normal. That's a guideline for knowing if you're sitting in an optimal way or not. Okay. How to stop pulling up, how to stop collapsing, stop interfering with your natural design. And as I said, that's easier said than done. People are not usually even in touch with what their natural design is. They know their shoulders are tight. So then what do? They say, oh, I need to relax my shoulders. But then they pull them down and maybe they get tight. Or they say, oh, I need to let go of my shoulders. So they relax the shoulders and then everything collapses. Does that look familiar? I hope not, but it probably does. Most of us know that we are tightening something, the jaw or the back or something when we're sitting to play our instruments. But then we think we have to relax certain body parts. And then when we do that, we tend to collapse everything, but we don't even know it. So you need to learn how to relax and release the whole self. And that includes how you're thinking, it includes your mood. Everything is a one piece, right? So if you affect one part of you, you're affecting all of you, and vice versa. So if you have a shoulder that keeps coming up, don't try to relax your shoulder. It's your whole self that needs to let go and open up. But this requires a process. It requires a system. It requires steps to learn how to get out of the way. When you stop thinking in a way that makes you tight, then your natural design can come forth, and your up, open, flexible self and aligned posture without back tension that's pulled up or collapsing down is allowed to just come to the surface, right? Because you're made to be aligned and balanced. You're not made to interfere with all that with excess tension. So really all you need to do is learn how to let go of the excess tension to let your positive, natural, open, flexible design shine through. So if you want to learn more about how to do this, there are really simple, clear steps that you can practice, and message me if you want to learn more. I teach this all online to musicians of all skill levels, from professionals who've been concertizing for decades to amateurs who have just started playing their instrument and want to prevent pain and discomfort from coming in. Maybe they're already feeling it. Professionals who are very successful are also prone to injury and overuse and possible discomfort. People who've been playing in symphonies, I have to say, unfortunately, a very, very large percentage of orchestral musicians is in some sort of pain. I would even venture to say that 90% or more. And there is research on this, actually. So you don't want to be like that. You want to learn how to sit in a way that's balanced and aligned and free and happy, right? So learn how to do that. Alexander technique is fantastic. I teach something called the Art of Freedom, which incorporates the Alexander Technique principles and teaches it in a hands-free manner using primal Alexander etudes developed by Mia Morales. I teach it in group classes called Alexander Musicians, and I also teach it privately with private coaching programs. So I have something for everybody. All you need to do is message me and ask. Tell me what you're struggling with and what you need help with, and I would be so happy to help you. You can even send me a picture of you sitting, and if you really want some insight, I'd be happy to give it to you. Okay? So before I leave, I just want to hop over to the comments again. And again, if you're watching the replay, send me your comments. I love to see what you have to say on this also. Nina says the pants skirt thing is huge for mountain dulcimer players. Oh, I bet. Got to spread knees to hold the dulcimer, and some players, mostly women, won't do that, and it really hinders their playing. Oh, that's really interesting. I had no idea, Nina. She says it's best to wear either pants or very long skirts. Yep, for sure. And Angel says, same thing with the harp. You have to spread your legs. Yep. And let's see. How many measures before I play the harp glissando again? I lost count. Oh, I see. Yes. I'm going back here. I think these are responses to, I asked everybody what emotion or thoughts were evoked when they watched me play like this. Right? And Angel says boredom, apathy. Nina says, gosh, the second violin part is boring. And Angel says, how many measures before I play the harp glissando again? I lost count. Right? Oh, yes. And then Nina is asking about the legs thing for women again. And yeah, where's the bow going to go? Right. Yeah. So, letting those legs fall naturally, feet flat on the ground. Just those little ergonomic fixes can go a long way to making you more comfortable when you play. But ultimately, it's how you're thinking that creates overall tension or overall ease and flexible movement. So I'd say the right way to sit, again, is a way that is natural to your unique body. And there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to how you should be sitting when you play your instrument. And it doesn't matter what instrument you play. Any instrument has the same issues from this perspective. And ultimately, you need to learn how to play this primary instrument first. You have to know how to sit without your instrument with ease and flexibility and being upright and balanced before you can learn how to do that with your musical instrument. So I'm going to leave you with that. And again, if you have any other thoughts or questions at any time after this, you can private message me. Come join my Facebook group. It's the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe. And you can ask me questions in there anytime. And ask me about my group class if you want to learn more specifics, or private coaching, even better. Okay, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again, not next Thursday because I'm traveling, but I'll post a replacement time so that I'll still see you all next week. And if you have something you'd like me to talk about in these live videos that I do every week, just send me a topic, and I love when people give me topics to talk on so I don't have to think about it myself. So send me your topics. All right, thanks for being here. I would be very grateful if you share this video in whatever group you're in for musicians and with your friends, colleagues, teachers, students. I just would love for people to have this information. Thank you. And Nina says, thank you. So you're welcome. Oh, Dan I just saw that you're here. Thanks. I'm glad you appreciate the video. I'm glad you liked it. So have a great day. Enjoy playing around with how you sit. There's not just one right way. There are infinite ways to sit. And to sit in a healthy, open, free way to help you make really, really great heart-centered music. So have fun playing around with it. Bye-bye.